So in this section, we're going to talk, inshallah ta'ala, about the cases in reference to removing the najasa. Okay, now remember that this is a topic that we have dealing with, and there is a lot of cases that we are referring to. But the thing about it is that Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in their different schools, they have referred to this important matter in different capacities. And in the Hanafi school, you will find there is a lot of cases for having some provisions for removing the najasa. And we remember last time, I want to refresh your memories, we spoke about the difference between the extensive najasa and the light najasa. And we spoke about how to make the tahir, how to make the purification. And we spoke about the najasa being purified with water, okay? That you wash it with water, or in the Hanafi school with a liquid other than water, like vinegar or like rose water, if it was something visible, like the urine or the filthy najis water, and you wash it until you are clear that it is tahir. I will not ask you questions. I will postpone the questions until next time. But remember that we said that the najasa could be either visible, you have the volume of the najasa, and you wash it until the mass is gone. And now if there is the odor or the color after the odor or the color, then this is a trace that is overlooked. And we mentioned one thing here in terms of the kuff. This is actually an example of a najasa that has a volume, and then it dried, and then you rub it against the ground, against the soil, so that you remove the najasa from it. Then you can pray with the kuff. For the Maniyy, if it hits the clothes, then if it is wet, you have to wash the clothes. But if it is dry, you can scrub it off on the condition that it is not mixed with urine, because if it's mixed with urine, then you cannot just rub it off. And we mentioned also the case of the najasa when it hits like the mirror or the sword or something like the marble, where the material cannot absorb this najasa. Then if you just wipe it out, it is permissible because the trace of the najasa will be removed. Similarly, for the earth, we said if there's najasa on the earth and then it becomes dry, there's no trace of the najasa on it, then you can just pray on the earth, but you cannot make tayammum. You cannot make tayammum with the soil unless you wash the soil and then you remove the najasa, then you can pray and you can make tayammum. Now for the skin of the animal, you're going to dye. You're going to dye that skin to make it purified. Then you can pray on it. You can use it to make it like a leather pouch. You can use it, put water in it and use it, except for the skin of the human being. So this is a quick summary of where we stand on this topic. Now let's move on also to speak about something in addition to that. So we're going to talk about the cases. There are a bunch of cases which I want to go over today with you in terms of how you want to remove the najasa. Okay, but before I do that, I want to mention there is also cases of najasa which is not visible. So what do you do with this non-visible najasa? Like najis water or urine that is not seen and it dried. So you rub it underwater until you are sure, mostly sure, that it becomes tahir. So you keep washing it so that you are convinced that it becomes tahir, there's no najasa left. And the weightiful saying, according to Imam Abu Hanifa, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, is that you wash it 3 times, and this is by an obligation. This is an wajib to wash it 3 times. In the book of Al-Mabsut by Al-Imam Al-Sarakhsi, he said you cannot consider it tahir until you did the washing 3 times, because of the fact of the hadith of the person who wakes up after he was asleep. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned the number 3 for washing this person's body or hand. And in the Shafi'i school, you have to be almost certain. It is not enough to be, you have to be certain. It's not enough to be almost sure. You have to be sure that there is no najasa left. Now, why are we saying 3 times or 7 times? To remove any kind of waswas, the whispers of ash-shaytan. So if you washing it 3 times or 7 times, you are counting al-waswas out of your mind, so that you don't have any doubt and you are sure about it out of precautionary measure. In the past, you used a container with water, so you throw it on it from the container. You take from the container and throw in the najasa. You don't soak the najasa in the container, because then the container will become najis, as we learned about the small amount of water that is being in touch with the najasa. And now you can wash it under the sink. You can just wash it under the sink, and that will be permissible. But however, it needs to be squeezed every time you do the washing. Okay, you have to squeeze it. You have to turn it around. You have to make sure that the water comes out, and then new water is coming coming in. But the carpet, you cannot do that to it. So what do? You let the water dry, and then you let the najasa dry, and then you let water go over it. Now the pig najasa, you have to wash it, as we said, 3 times as an obligation. Better to wash it 7 times. And this is out of being a mandub, and to stay away from the disagreement with other schools. And you also use one of the wash mixed with sand that is tahir, tahir sand, because the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when the dog will lick one's container, then you wash it 7 times. One of them is with sand. And in one narration, it was 7 times. Excuse me. And here we are talking about the saliva of the dog. The pig itself the whole pig is najis, and it's extensive najasa with all the parts of the pig. The istinja, when you are lifting the najasa from the private organs, it is 3 times. You're going to do the wiping with the tissue, or with a piece of cloth, or with the stone. Now, the important thing here now, the next section is about, this is section 3.1, and this section, I'm sorry, it is 16.1. It is a benefit that refers to what you can use to remove the najasa. And there is about 20 different cases that we're going to go through them within the permission of the time that we have. The first one, as we said, is to do the washing. Something that has a mass, you wash it. Or you can do the istinja, something that you can use the tissue or the rock for doing the removal of the najasa on the body. But we'll speak about the istinja in detail. But here, just to capture the major point, that you can wipe the najasa out as long as the najasa is within the perimeter needed. And this is what amount of dirham. Remember the dirham we said? The dirham we said, whether it is the wet najasa or the solid najasa. It's different than the Shafi'i. The Shafi'i says the boundary of the organs. Here we're talking about the dirham, because this najasa is counted as extensive najasa, the urine and the feces. So you are limited to go not beyond a dirham in size or in weight. Okay, and then we said about the rubbing, not the rubbing, the wiping. You do the wiping for something that that is not porous, doesn't have any porous membrane, so it does not, the najasa doesn't sink into it. It does not absorb the najasa. As we gave an example, the mirror or the sword, you just wipe it with a piece of tahir tissue. Then we also spoke about drying. We spoke about the earth when it dries. Okay, so the earth will bring the najasa down, it will pull the najasa down, and the air will dry the najasa. And then you can, as we said, you can pray on it, but you cannot make tayammum. Then we speak about scrubbing. What is scrubbing? Like you have some najasa that comes over the wood. So what do? You scrub that place of najasa so that the wood will become tahir. So the najasa layer is gone, and then this wood becomes tahir. And of course, some ulama said when the wood is solid, not all of it becomes najis, only what has been in touch with the najasa. Also, the next one is like you turn over the body of the najasa. Like what? Like the pig becomes salt. Okay, this is a case when the pig becomes salt. Then there is tahara in the pig, but you don't eat it. Or when the oil becomes soap, salt and soap. So salt for the pig and soap for the oil. And this fatwa is because it is a common hardship. So the school of Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala anhu, they made it because there is a lot of hardship in terms of how you make the oil tahir. So they said you can make it as soap. Or digging. So you dig the earth by bringing the top of the earth to the bottom and bring what is in the bottom, on the bottom to the top. Now, some ulama said in the Hanafi school that the najasa will still be in the bottom. It will not be removed by just that, but it might be removed by some other means. But this is just to mention to you that now the top of the earth, the soil that you have on the top of the earth, by turning the soil around, the top layer will become tahir. Tanning the skin. You put it in the sun. You put on it some salt if you want. It will dry. Then the wetness will be gone. Then it will becomes tahir. And you could pray on it, as we said. Or takhleel. Takhleel is you could say maybe fermentation, if you want to translate it, like when the wine will become vinegar. So you leave it by itself. So the material itself now is transformed from wine to vinegar. It becomes tahir. In the Hanafi school, according to the teachings of Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala anhu, if you put water in the vinegar or the other way around, and then all of it becomes vinegar, it is tahir. Okay, and this tahara means that the container becomes tahir, the side will become tahir, and the whole area will become tahir, not just the material inside. Also, in what we talk about here is to slaughter the animal. The animal becomes edible, and it will become tahir. It is also mentioned that if you slaughter the animal, whether it is edible or not, it becomes tahir. Whether you can eat it or not, it becomes tahir according to the school of Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu ta'ala anhu. And also by slaughtering, the skin will become also tahir. But if it is not edible, if the meat is not edible, you cannot eat it just because you slaughtered the animal. We are speaking here about its tahara, not about the permissibility of eating it. All we spoke about also scrubbing of the mani, the seminal fluid. Scrub with the hand or with a sharp object until the seminal fluid, the mani, the semen, is now becomes small pieces, like you disintegrate the mass, and then this means that now the place becomes tahir. There's no trace of the mani left. We spoke about the khuf. You wipe it against the soil of the earth, the shoes, or there is something that the ulama of the Hanafi school called the entrance. Like you bring tahir water in a small basin, for example, which is najis, but then you let it exit from the other side. It enters from one side and exits from another side, and then you do that. You keep doing that until it becomes tahir. So it means here water that has been najis, you throw water on it, and then it becomes like water that is running water, and this becomes something that is tahir by that. When it reaches to the other side, it becomes tahir by that. And there is so let's stop here inshallah, and then we will continue that next time. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بارك الله فيك. بسم الله والحمد لله وصلى اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم. Thank Allah Ta'ala for the blessing of Islam, and I ask Allah Azza wa Jal to increase the highness of our Master Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his kind al and companions. May Allah Ta'ala make our session rewardable and beneficial, and grant us sincere intentions. We will continue inshallah today with Al-Fiqh Al-Hanafi, speaking about the cases of removing the najasa. And I'll just go over what we have covered so far in the past session. We spoke about washing, we spoke about making istinja with al-hajar, lifting the najasa with the stone or what replaces the stone. We spoke about wiping the non-porous material. We spoke about the drying of the ground and the soil. We spoke about scrubbing the wood. We spoke about changing the mass of the material, like the oil, to make it soap. We spoke about digging the earth to make the upper part lower and the lower part on the upside of the earth, upper side of the earth. We spoke about tanning. I might have said dyeing the other day, so just make sure that you put tanning instead, tanning of the skin. We spoke about fermenting, like the alcohol, the wine, to make it vinegar. We spoke about az-zakah, to slaughter properly, the proper slaughtering. We spoke about scrubbing the maniyy. We spoke about rubbing against the soil, which is for the kuff. We spoke about the coming in of the water, the tahir water coming to the najis basin and coming out from the other side. And now we're going to talk about the remainder of these cases. And here we are talking about what you take out of the well. If you remember, we spoke about an amount of water that you take out of the well. And it could be the other way around, which is that the water of the well will sink in, and that amount of the water sinking in is the amount that you have to pull out of the well. So basically, you are talking either you're taking the water out of the well, or the water of the well goes that has najasa goes into the ground, and then you consider that amount equal to the amount that you have to take it out. There is another case, which is that you dissipate some of the material. Like, for example, if you have a place where you put the grains ready for grinding, and then some animals might come and urinate on it, or like the bull will urinate on that grain that we have accumulated. So what do you do here? They said if you give out some of this grain, one mud here, one mud there, and then you buy certain things, like say for example you bought some fruit, and you gave in exchange for it that grain. So they will say here that this becomes tahir, because in this way the amount given and dissipated will bring the najasa out of the whole. So when the whole has been distributed, they said we now consider that it is tahir by this distribution. So either you give you eat some of it, or you sell some of it, or you donate some of it, you give sadaqah some of it. So you could basically be using out the same amount that has najasa in your estimation. So this is basically what they have mentioned in this case. In so doing, you have used some of it, and by that the najasa has been distributed. You are not sure now where the najasa is. Then there is what we call in Arabic nadif, or teasing in English. What is teasing? Like you have some cotton, or some you could say cotton, basically cotton, and asuf. Asuf. I forgot what's asuf in English. What's asuf in English?
Wool.
Wool. Wool. Yeah, wool or cotton. So it became affected by the najasa. So what do you do? If you remember how they used to come in and they used to hit it, and by hitting it, part of the wool or part of the cotton will start being distributed away, they pulled away and aside from the whole mass, basically. So much of it will fly out. So by that you say this much wool or this much cotton has um, has been flown out of the hole. It's like the amount you take out of the well, the amount of water that you take out of the well, and you say by that we have judged that the water became tahir. Likewise, they say the wool or the cotton has has been counted now as being tahir. But here there is a condition that the amount of najasa is a small amount, which can go out, which can be dissipated or can be taken out by this method of teasing. And there's also fire. They will say, like you are burning the place where there's blood, for example, on the head of the lamb. And this is not like a rule for everything that you put fire on, it will become tahir. But here, what is mentioned in this case is that if the trace of the najasa is gone by the fire, then you could say that the remnant traces of the najasa becomes tahir. So there is a restriction on this, which is that in certain places the fire is is taking out the najasa, and the trace that it leaves behind is considered tahir. Like, for example, another case is like when you have some wood which you burn, and then the ashes that are left are considered tahir. This is not according to, of course, Al-Imam Shafi'i. And these are in such cases in the Hanafi school, according to Al-Imam Abu Hanifa radiallahu anhu. And there is also an older method where they used uh, to use the mud and mix it with some other material, and they use it to put it on the roofs that might be affected by the najasa. So this becomes tahir by burning it and mixing it with the mud and other materials that they use for this sort of covering the roofs. Uh, Also by boiling. Boiling is like you boil the fat or you boil the meat. A case for that they mention is you have like molasses and honey. If it becomes najas, you boil it with water one time, second time, third time, and so on, and by that it becomes tahir. Or you could wash part of it. We mentioned some of that, like you have the pants have been caught and stained by urine, and you did not know which part of it has urine on it. So some parts of the clothing has become najas. So you wash that part, and by washing it, it becomes tahir. Or there is the case when you have some fat or ghee. This ghee has najasa on it, and this najasa is on the ghee, but the ghee itself is solid, is not a liquid. Like a mouse fell on it and died on it. So basically, what you do is you take it out with a knife, and you like cortage the place which has been stained by the najasa, and the rest of it becomes tahir. Some ulama in the Hanafi school said you don't want to count this as a method because the ghee, which is a solid material, really did not become najis, all of it. Only what has been what has come in touch with the najasa. So that's how they answered this issue. Also, in some of the books of the Hanafi school, they mention that when the fetus had the soul, Allah Ta'ala orders the angel to blow the soul in the fetus, then it becomes a different you could say property, a body with different properties, because it was a mudgha, a mudgha, then alaqa and a mudgha, like a piece of flesh. They said it becomes tahir. And then there is two cases. The case when you water using najas water, you water the trees or the plants, and then you throw on the top of that tahir water 3 times, so this becomes tahir. The last one is when, say, for example, you have some najasa, and this najasa will go out by licking, like the cat licks itself. So let's say the cat ate a mouse, then the mouth of the cat becomes najis. And if the cat drinks from the container, then the water in the container will become najis. But if it licks itself, the body, by sometimes the tongue of the cat will become tahir because it licks itself. Likewise, when they say a person drank alcohol, and uh, then the person had drank from a cup. So, so this water in the cup becomes najis. But if, say, for example, this person, they said that the person swallowed the saliva enough, he swallowed the saliva enough, then the saliva in his mouth will become tahir. You could say also something else. If you are putting your mouth in your mouth, your finger that has some najasa on it. So you lick it and you spit, you lick it and you spit, you lick it and you spit out the najasa. Then it will become tahir. That's how they say it might work. But of course, you will not swallow this blood. Say, for example, you have a blood on your finger. You don't swallow the blood. In general, if you have some, let's say your gum is bleeding, and you spit enough times until you see that the gum became the saliva of your mouth became clear. When it becomes clear, it means there's no najasa anymore. But this is not according to Imam Shafi'i school. It is a madhab of Sayyida Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, that if you do that, then your saliva will become tahir. You can make it tahir by such a method. So by that, we have covered the 23 cases of different ways by which you can remove the najasa. I'm going to stop here to see if you have any questions.